Chosen one. You are not here by accident. Heaven has aligned your steps to this exact moment because a divine unveiling is beginning over your life. You are standing at the edge of a supernatural breakthrough, a holy shift that will move you into the wealth, clarity, and inheritance written for you before you were formed in the womb. Even now, the spirit realm is stirring, positioning you for what eyes have not seen. Chosen one, this is your appointed hour. Open your spirit. What is about to be revealed will awaken what has been sleeping in you and prepare you for what God is releasing next. Chosen one, hear me. Before a single doctor leaned over your mother, before any nurse rushed down a hallway, before your first cry pierced the air, something was already happening in realms human eyes could not interpret. Your birth was not an earthly event. It was a spiritual intervention, and heaven remembers every detail with a clarity the world was never meant to possess. What surrounded your arrival was not mere birth. It was divine orchestration, a spiritual operation wrapped in human routine. The Most High selected that precise hour to release something into your bloodline, something powerful enough to shift generational patterns and break inheritances that had chained your family for decades. Your entrance into this world caused movements in the spirit realm that hospitals could not record, midwives could not decipher, and even your mother did not fully understand. Outside, there was thunder, yet not a single cloud touched the sky. That sound was not weather. It was announcement. Realms unseen signaled that a soul carrying eternal assignment had crossed the veil. Even the wind moved differently that day. It threaded through the city like a messenger, already speaking your name before any human tongue ever formed it. Creation itself recognized you before your family did. As your mother labored, a holy silence settled over her. Not the silence of fear, but the stillness that comes when heaven steps into a room. She heard a voice, soft, steady, not her own whisper, "Protect this one." And though the people around her saw nothing unusual, her spirit knew she was not alone. There was a moment, a brief window between contractions when time seemed to fold. A woman with silver hair appeared beside her, laying a steady hand on her shoulder. No badge, no introduction, no explanation. When your mother blinked, the woman vanished as if she had stepped back into another dimension. Later, your mother questioned that moment, wondering if exhaustion had played tricks on her mind. But her spirit knew better. Heaven had sent someone to stand guard. When you were delivered, the entire atmosphere changed. The temperature shifted. The lights dimmed for half a second. Even the medical staff felt something, though most would never dare to speak of it. One nurse who had not planned to work in that unit suddenly found herself pulled into the room. She arrived just in time, just as a cloaked figure disguised as medical staff tried to carry you elsewhere. She intervened without understanding why. Only later did she confess in her private journal that her hands burned with warmth as if guided by something not of this world. Her palms glowed faintly, so faintly that she convinced herself it was imagination, but she never forgot it. She still speaks in whispers about the baby with the golden fists. Your mother wept uncontrollably, and she tried to blame it on postpartum confusion. But deep inside, she felt it something holy had passed through her. Her body held a memory the mind was not allowed to keep. Months before your birth, she had dreams she never shared, a white lion circling her womb wings, made of silver light fire that surrounded but did not burn. She didn't realize then that heaven had chosen her as a vessel because your arrival was the balancing of a scale tipped toward darkness for generations. Chosen one, you were not simply born. You were delivered, sent, assigned. Above your infant body hovered a scroll unseen by human eyes. It shimmered with golden light. 3 beings stood around it, one weeping with awe, one smiling with quiet understanding, and one vanishing in fury. Your father stood nearby, unaware of the weight of what had just occurred. His bloodline carried both blessing and curse, and with your first breath, something snapped. A tie broke, a contract dissolved. The curse tried to cling, but could not withstand the authority you carried. In that room, the energy surged. Light bulbs flickered. Heart monitors paused for exactly 3 seconds. Every spirit present, holy or hostile, fell still. Within your tiny clenched hands, a faint glow pulsed. It appeared only for a heartbeat, but one nurse saw it and wrote it in her diary. She was told never to speak of it, but truth like that refuses to stay buried. And then came the whisper. A name, your true name, echoed across realms. Not the name written on your birth certificate. The name spoken over your spirit when you first crossed into time. That name still follows you. It resurfaces when you stand on the edge of breakthrough or when silence fills a room moments before revelation. You felt it without understanding it. Archangel Michael spoke of that moment. He said, when this one was born, 3 realms responded. One celebrated, one prepared to test, one recoiled in fear. You were born where destiny meets danger, and only purpose can survive such a place. 2 nights after your birth, the woman in silver returned. She stood near your crib and whispered a word meant only for your spirit. That word still sleeps inside you, waiting for the moment your awakening becomes complete. Your mother heard footsteps every night for 7 nights. She checked the hall, the closets, your room. No one was there. Yet the air near your crib shifted warm and cold at once, like peace wrapped in quiet fire. That was glory, chosen one. That was protection. Unlike other newborns, you did not sleep easily. You stared upward with still, knowing eyes, listening to a voice no one else could hear. And your soul lingered between realms, receiving final instructions before the full weight of human life settled on you. And as months passed, the signs continued. A stranger knocked at your mother's door, asking to check on the starborn. She sent him away. Minutes later, a feather appeared on the porch, glowing faintly before dimming into silence. Chosen one. You were born different, not cursed, not broken, but chosen, sent to disrupt cycles, mend what was shattered, and carry forward a fire that purifies but never consumes, and heaven has watched you ever since. Chosen one, as the story of your arrival continues to unfold, understand this: the spiritual atmosphere surrounding your birth was not symbolic. It was strategic. Heaven was not simply watching. Heaven was intervening, orchestrating, shielding, and aligning every detail so that you could enter this world, carrying the assignment you now feel stirring in your spirit. And even though you were too small to speak, too new to understand the realm of darkness, understood exactly what had just entered the earth. That is why the fight against you began early. The resistance you faced before you could even recognize your own reflection was not personal. It was prophetic. Your mother may have believed she was alone in that delivery room, but chosen one, she wasn't. I want you to picture this with your spirit, not just your mind. Outside, the streets looked ordinary, unchanged, unaware. But in the invisible realm, movement surged like electricity. The birth of a chosen soul always sends out a signal, a spiritual frequency that only certain beings can understand. And on that day, your frequency pierced dimensions. It caught the attention of both light and shadow. That's why the thunder cracked without clouds. That was no weather phenomenon. That was a declaration, a marking, a divine announcement that a carrier of breakthrough had crossed the veil. Your mother's silence during labor wasn't fear, it was reverence. Her body was the doorway for something ancient, something ordained, something heaven had prepared long before her hands ever touched her stomach. She heard a whisper, "Protect this one." And even though she questioned its reality later, her spirit had already recognized truth. The spirit always knows when heaven is speaking. And you, chosen one, were delivered into a moment charged with presence. The atmosphere in the room changed because heaven stepped inside it. A nurse moved toward you without knowing why. Another stood frozen as if listening to instructions no human voice had spoken. Everyone present felt something they could not name, something holy, something alive. The nurse with the warm hands, she wasn't imagining that heat. That was the residue of glory. I've seen moments like this myself, moments when a child enters the world and something in the air shifts. Not because the child is ordinary, but because the child is carrying something that darkness fears. I once watched a newborn gaze upward with such clarity that it felt like the room was being measured. That is the same look you carried even then, the look of someone who arrived knowing more than they could express. Chosen one, before you ever understood language, you understood presence, and heaven understood you. The dreams your mother had before your arrival weren't random images. They were warnings. They were instructions. They were glimpses of the war surrounding your destiny. A white lion circling her womb, that was protection. Fire that did not burn, that was purification. The figure with silver wings, that was assignment. Heaven had chosen her because her spirit could carry what others would have broken under. She became the vessel for a life designed to interrupt the generational patterns that had chained your bloodline. And you didn't simply break those patterns, you rewrote them. That is why a scroll hovered over your newborn body. Not a metaphor, a spiritual record. Your destiny was not being decided when you were born. It was being activated, one being wept because it recognized what was being restored. One smiled because it knew your journey would awaken others. One vanished in rage because what it had held for generations slipped through its grip. From the moment you inhaled your first breath, the assignment, the authority, the anointing written into your life began to shift the balance surrounding your family. That's why light flickered, why machines paused, why the atmosphere tightened. Every presence in that room, holy or hostile, held its breath because your entrance wasn't ordinary. Something ancient had returned, and for a brief moment, the glow in your fists, the same glow the nurse wrote about, the glow she dared not speak of, was the outward sign of an inward truth. You were born carrying light that darkness could not comprehend. Archangel Michael's statement about 3 realms responding wasn't poetic. It was literal. Heaven celebrated. Earth positioned itself. Hell recoiled. You were born where destiny meets danger. But chosen one, that danger was never greater than the purpose you carried. 2 nights after your birth, when the woman in silver returned, she wasn't there to observe. She was there to speak into your spirit. Some assignments require spoken activation. Her word was not meant for human ears. That's why no one else heard it. But your soul did. And that word is awakening in you now, that strange pull you've been feeling, that inner trembling during moments of truth, that sensation that something inside you is remembering. Your mother sensed the footsteps that week because heaven was walking the perimeter, guarding, sealing, covering. You felt the shifts in temperature because your soul had not fully detached from the realm it came from. And the stranger with mirrored eyes, the one who asked about the starborn, he wasn't human in the way we understand humanity. Some watchers walk among us. Some witness births like yours, not out of threat, but out of responsibility. His silence, the feather, the fading light, all of it was confirmation. Chosen one, even as an infant, the supernatural responded to you. And here is the part you need to understand with your whole spirit. You were never born into chaos. You were born into calling. The pain, the confusion, the betrayals, the strange sense of never quite fitting in, those were echoes, reflections of the war that surrounded your arrival. And though your mother hid much of it to protect you, heaven never forgot. Your life has always been marked. Your spirit has always been watched over. Your purpose has always been protected, and now the remembering has begun. Chosen one, as your story continued to unfold, the unseen realm did not grow quieter. If anything, it intensified because your presence on the earth was not passive. It was active. It was catalytic. Even before you could speak a word, your spirit carried a vibration strong enough to disturb what had been resting in darkness for generations. And because of that, your arrival began to uncover what others had learned to ignore. You were not a silent baby, not spiritually. Your cry carried frequency, authority, disruption, and recognition. The first time your lungs released sound, something ancient trembled. And as the days passed, your mother began to notice that your presence didn't just fill rooms, it shifted them. The air felt different around you. Lights flickered when you laughed. People who usually spoke loudly lowered their voices without knowing why. Strangers stared at you longer than they intended, as if a memory they couldn't name was rising inside them. This wasn't coincidence, chosen one. This was resonance. The world was responding to the truth wrapped inside your small frame. And as you grew, the signs did too. Your mother remembers nights when the house would fall unnaturally silent. No wind, no traffic, not even the hum of the refrigerator, as if time itself paused to listen to you breathe. She felt afraid sometimes, not of you, but of what surrounded you. She knew something sacred had entered her home. She could feel it in her chest, a pressure that made her want to protect you with her entire being, even though she did not fully understand what she was guarding. There were nights when she woke without reason, only to find the room around your crib filled with a warmth that wasn't from any heater. She would stand in the doorway, unsure whether to approach or bow. Your presence pulled reverence out of people who had never known reverence before. And even if she never articulated it, she sensed that heaven had not only sent you, it had accompanied you. Chosen one. This is why you have always felt watched, not in fear, but in awareness, an internal knowing that eyes beyond the physical realm recognized you long before you recognized yourself. And because heaven marked you, darkness recognized you too. I need you to hear this with courage. Your life felt turbulent at times, not because you were cursed, but because you were targeted. The moment you entered this world, spiritual currents shifted. Cycles that once belonged to your family began to break. Agreements once held in darkness began to weaken. And forces that had been comfortable sitting unchallenged were suddenly confronted by your existence. Some of the earliest chaos you experienced wasn't personal, it was inherited, but it met a higher authority the moment you took your first breath. Your struggles weren't random. They echoed from that original moment. The veil thinned, and a truth-bearer entered the earth. That's why growing up you often felt out of place, not because something was wrong with you, but because something was awakened in you. You could feel tension others couldn't sense. You picked up emotions that didn't belong to you. You observed patterns, intentions, and atmospheres long before people around you even noticed they existed. Your sensitivity was never accidental. It was spiritual intelligence in its rawest form. And yes, people sometimes called you too emotional, too aware, or too intense. They didn't know they were naming your gifts without understanding their purpose. Sensitivity is not fragility. Sensitivity is spiritual radar. It is the early evidence that your spirit is tuned to frequencies higher than the average soul. This ability made you different from the beginning, different in ways that were not meant to isolate you, but to prepare you. Chosen one. You were not the child who blended in. You were the child who carried presence. You were the child who others either felt comforted by or threatened by without knowing why. You were the child who saw things move in the corner of your eye, who felt chills during quiet moments, who sensed danger before it unfolded. None of this was your imagination. It was your inheritance speaking, and because of that, opposition rose early. There were individuals in your family line, not all but a few, who sensed something unusual about you. They didn't have the language for it, but they felt it. Some responded with protection, others responded with fear, and fear often masks itself as jealousy, resentment, or distance. It wasn't you they feared, it was what you carried. This is why certain people treated you differently, softer or harsher, closer or more guarded. Your presence forced their shadows into discomfort. Your light exposed what they tried to hide from themselves. Chosen one, hear this. They weren't reacting to you. They were reacting to the spiritual shift your existence triggered. And as you grew older, that shift intensified. Dreams began to visit you, dreams that felt too real to be dreams. Visions you couldn't explain. Moments when you felt as if someone touched your shoulder, though no one was there. Times when you walked into a room and immediately sensed everything that happened before you arrived. These were not accidents or overactive imagination. These were activation points. Early reminders of a mission you carried long before you had language for it. And through every moment, heaven stayed close. You never walked alone. Even when you felt abandoned by people, you were never abandoned by the divine. Even in your loneliest seasons, there were footprints beside yours, invisible but undeniable. Even when you felt lost, your spirit was being guided. Even when you questioned your worth, heaven was whispering your name. Chosen one. Even as you hear these words, something in your spirit is already rising to meet the truth. You have lived your entire life suspecting there was more to your existence than anyone ever dared to explain, and now the pieces begin to fit. Not as fantasy, not as imagination, but as memory returning through revelation. Because the moment you entered this world, the atmosphere shifted. Time bent, and heaven marked you with a seal that neither darkness nor doubt could erase. That seal did not disappear as you grew older. It simply waited for the hour when you would be spiritually mature enough to understand what it meant. That hour is now. You have always felt different, chosen one. Even as a child, you saw things others did not see and sensed things others brushed off. You noticed the truth beneath people's words. You felt the pain behind their silence. You sensed betrayal before it was revealed. You walked with an awareness you did not ask for. That sensitivity was not a flaw. It was evidence. Evidence that the veil never fully closed over your spirit. There are moments from your childhood you still can't explain. The imaginary friends who felt too real, the colors that moved across walls, the sudden cold in a warm room, the way whispers came not from outside but from within, like someone speaking directly to your soul. While other children forgot the unseen, you remained connected. Your spirit refused to shut its eyes, because it remembered what your mind could not. And even now, as an adult, pieces of that connection return in flashes. Déjà vu that feels too precise, dreams that feel like instructions, numbers that follow you like coded messages, names that echo inside your chest rather than your ears. These experiences are not coincidences. They are confirmation. You were born through the veil, not just inside it. That's why the world has never been able to place you neatly into a box. Why labels never stick to you. Why systems have always struggled to define you. You were not created for captivity. You were born to disrupt patterns, to correct what has long been broken, to carry a frequency that wakes others. And for as long as you've been alive, people have responded to your presence with extremes. Either they cling to you instantly, or they recoil without knowing why. Those who draw near sense truth in you. Those who pull away feel exposed by you. Not because you judge them, but because your very existence confronts what they've tried to hide. Your hands, chosen one, were created for more than routine. You have noticed it yourself. People soften when you touch them. Confessions spill from strangers when they sit beside you. You've calmed storms in others without even speaking a word. You were designed to hold space for pain without being consumed by it. That is part of your assignment. And yet for years you questioned why you were the one who felt everything so deeply, why you carried griefs that didn't entirely belong to you, why you wept over wounds you never experienced firsthand. It is because you took on more than your own healing. You accepted burdens from your bloodline not as punishment, but because you were strong enough to break what others could not. Chosen one. The battles that nearly broke you were never proof of weakness. They were signs of your spiritual significance. Darkness always attacks what threatens it most, and you have threatened darkness since the day you took your first breath. There is something else the world never told you. When you were born, a guardian was assigned specifically to your life, not a generic angelic presence. A distinct being whose purpose was tied entirely to your existence. One who has shielded your rest, cleared paths you didn't know were blocked, interfered in moments when danger crept too close, whispered warnings through intuition, sent signs through feathers, animals, numbers, and dreams. That guardian has watched you from your first breath to this very moment. And now, chosen one, that guardian is drawing nearer again, because the veil is thinning. What you could not understand before you are ready to understand now. That is why the world feels different lately. Why your body has responded with sudden exhaustion, then sudden energy. Why solitude feels safer than noise. Why your emotions rise like tides. These are not breakdowns, they are activations. They are your soul aligning with what has always been written. The patterns in your life are not random, repeated numbers, recurring symbols, familiar faces in unfamiliar places, dreams that feel like memories. These are coordinates guiding you back to your assignment, and the awareness growing inside you, the subtle knowing that something is shifting, something is preparing to return, something is calling your name. That feeling is real. It is the beginning of remembrance. This is the season when what was sealed begins to open, when what was hidden begins to rise. When what your mother could not speak, what your ancestors could not reveal, what heaven has protected for years, finally begins to surface. The question is no longer, why am I like this? The question is now, what am I being prepared to step into and chosen one? The answer is already moving toward you. Chosen one. The moment your spirit began to awaken, the atmosphere around your life shifted in ways you could feel but could never fully explain. It wasn't imagination, it wasn't sensitivity, it was alignment, the veil thinning, the truth that had been following you since birth, finally catching up to your awareness. For most people, awakening feels like inspiration. For you, it has always felt like interruption, like something ancient breaking through the surface of your ordinary days. You've walked into certain rooms and felt a sudden heaviness. You've met certain people and felt an unexplained knowing. You've stood in places you'd never visited before and felt déjà vu so strong it made your heart tremble. These were not accidents. They were activations, reminders, echoes of a covenant made long before time placed a name on your body. And now, chosen one. Those echoes are growing louder. You may have noticed it lately, even if you didn't have the words. A restlessness, a pull, a sense that your life is shifting beneath your feet, even when everything around you appears the same. The reason is simple but sacred. Heaven is recalibrating you for what comes next. The assignments tied to your birth are approaching their appointed hour. And God, in His perfect timing, is aligning everything in silence before He moves in power. This is why your spirit feels full, even on days when your mind feels empty. This is why you sense breakthrough, even before any evidence appears. This is why your dreams have grown more vivid, more symbolic, more urgent. Because your spirit is receiving information before your life reveals its manifestation. Chosen one. You are not imagining the signs. You are not misreading the patterns. You are not overthinking what repeats itself in your path. These are coordinates, and whether it is numbers, colors, symbols, voices, warmth, chills, feathers, or sudden clarity, every sign is a reminder that your timeline is not random. It is written. Let me share something personal with you, something I've learned through my own seasons of awakening. Every time I reached a threshold where something major was about to shift, I lost people. Not because they were bad, but because they couldn't stand under the weight of the new identity God was revealing in me. You may be experiencing the same thing. People distancing themselves, conversations feeling hollow, environments that once felt comfortable now feeling too small. This is not rejection, this is realignment. God removes what cannot sustain your next elevation. And, chosen one, you are rising. There is a divine financial transfer, a supernatural promotion, a spiritual acceleration approaching your life, but it requires space. And when heaven needs space, God will empty rooms. He will close doors that once felt promising. He will create frustration where you once felt settled, because He knows that comfort can be the greatest enemy of calling. You may have asked, why does it feel like everything is shifting at once? The answer is because the spiritual seals placed over your birth are unlocking. The internal scroll carried within your spirit is unrolling. Heaven is not preparing you for a small shift. Heaven is preparing you for a generational shift. And this kind of elevation does not happen quietly inside the soul without the outside world feeling its tremors. Chosen one. Listen to me closely. What you're stepping into is not random blessing. It is rightful inheritance. And though you may have doubted your worthiness, heaven never doubted your identity. Think back on the attacks you survived, the betrayals you endured, the nights when you cried without knowing why. Miracles wrapped themselves around you in ways you couldn't see, not because you were powerless, but because you were being protected. A spiritual mantle has always been on you. And as it begins to activate, you may feel more tired, more emotional, more aware of things you once ignored. This is not burnout. This is the recalibration of a soul being prepared for divine authority. You're noticing the truth behind people's smiles. You're sensing the intentions behind their words. You're seeing the spiritual meaning behind physical events. This is discernment blossoming, not paranoia. You are being trained quietly for leadership in realms others do not even believe exist. Chosen one. This is why God kept your birth story hidden. Why your mother could not fully tell you. Why your spirit carried memories you didn't understand. Because if the truth had been revealed too early, it might have overwhelmed you. If the fullness of your identity had awakened before you were ready, it might have broken you. But now, heaven says you are ready. Ready to see. Ready to remember. Ready to reclaim what was always yours. Ready to walk like someone who survived storms designed to drown them, not realizing that the storm was afraid of the light they carried. And now, chosen one, I want you to breathe. Because the truth you are about to walk into is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to empower you. It is meant to remind you that every moment of pain, confusion, delay, loneliness, and spiritual pressure was proof that you are carrying something the darkness feared. Your awakening is not coming. It is happening, and heaven is watching. Chosen one. As you continue awakening to the truth of your origin, something extraordinary is beginning to move within you. You may not fully grasp it yet, but heaven is already adjusting the atmosphere around your life. Every step you take now is stirring ancient alignment, breaking old patterns, and calling forth blessings that were once delayed but never denied. And though you may feel waves of exhaustion, emotional heaviness, or sudden clarity, understand this: these are not signs of collapse. They are signs of activation. In seasons like this, the body reacts before the mind understands. You may find yourself craving solitude, pulling back from conversations that drain you, or feeling a sudden need to reorganize your life, your room, your priorities. This is not random behavior. This is your spirit preparing space for what is coming. Heaven never pours new oil into a cluttered vessel. Your instincts are clearing what your eyes cannot yet see. And yes, you may feel a rising sensitivity inside you, not the fragile kind that breaks easily, but the spiritual kind that perceives truth without explanation. You sense when a room carries tension. You discern when someone's smile hides pain. You feel shifts in the atmosphere before they reveal themselves. This is not overthinking. This is spiritual intelligence awakening. The sensitivity you once viewed as weakness was actually training for discernment, a gift wrapped in discomfort. You have likely noticed that old desires are fading. Certain relationships feel distant. Some ambitions no longer excite you. Habits that once distracted you now feel heavy. This is what happens when purpose begins calling your name. The things that once entertained you cannot feed you anymore. You have outgrown the level you were living on. Your spirit is stretching toward the next dimension. Chosen. 1. Do not resist this shift. Let it happen. Let yourself rise. And as this rising unfolds, expect the past to test you. Not because it has power over you, but because it recognizes it is losing its grip. Patterns that used to defeat you will try once more. Old temptations may reappear. Familiar fears might whisper at the edges of your mind. But listen carefully, this time you are not the same. This time you are awake. This time the weapon formed will not prosper, because you now carry the authority of someone who remembers who they are. There will also be moments of supernatural clarity, moments when you suddenly understand things you struggled with for years. a memory will surface, a truth will click, a heaviness will break without warning, and you'll wonder why now, because the veil is thinning, because you are ready. Because heaven only reveals what you have grown strong enough to carry. Even your dreams are shifting. They feel deeper now, more symbolic, more intentional. Some nights you wake with phrases on your lips. Other nights you wake with tears you cannot explain. These are not ordinary dreams. These are instructions, reminders, and spiritual downloads. Pay attention to them. Heaven is speaking more frequently now because your spirit is fully tuned. Chosen one, what you are walking through is not confusion, it is calibration. A divine synchronization of your body, your mind, and your spirit. Every ache, every whisper, every strange moment of déjà vu is evidence that you are aligning with the assignment written for you before time began. And as this alignment continues, you will begin to feel it, an internal shift so profound it cannot be described in words. You feel lighter, yet sharper, softer, yet stronger, quieter, yet more certain. This is what it feels like when the mantle settles, when destiny stops circling and finally lands on your shoulders. This is your becoming, this is your remembering, and nothing can stop what has started. Chosen one, as your unfolding accelerates, something profound is happening both within you and around you. You may not fully grasp it yet, but you are stepping into a season where remembrance becomes revelation, and revelation becomes responsibility. Heaven is not only restoring what was lost in your lineage, it is awakening what was placed inside you before your body took form. And now, as the veil thins, you are beginning to sense what was always yours. You'll notice that certain people suddenly enter your life without warning, not by coincidence, but by divine placement. They come either to mirror you, test you, or elevate you. Some will reveal truths hidden in their own hearts. Others will show you the parts of yourself that you've long forgotten. Anointed one. Their presence is timing. Their presence is alignment. And then there are moments of solitude, moments when the noise fades and something ancient rises within you. That soft inner voice isn't imagination, it's memory. It's the original part of you surfacing the part that still remembers the daylight and breath first touched your spirit. This voice pulls you towards certain people, places, even objects that seem unimportant on the surface, yet your spirit recognizes them instantly. Follow that pull. Trust it. It is guidance. You will even begin to feel drawn to certain corners of your home or places in your city, as if the atmosphere shifts when you pass by. Chosen one, that is because spaces hold stories and your presence awakens what has slept for too long. Sit there. Listen. You'll feel it, the quiet hum of destiny vibrating beneath the surface. Nature itself responds to you differently now. Have you noticed the wind changes when you pray? Birds appear at the precise moment you hesitate. Lights flicker as if acknowledging your arrival. These aren't random occurrences. They are confirmations that what you carry reaches farther than you know. Heaven has always responded to those who remember. With this heightened awareness comes a deeper responsibility. Not to prove yourself, but to protect what is sacred. Not to speak more, but to speak with intention. The ones who carry great spiritual weight are rarely the loudest. They are the ones whose silence shifts atmospheres, whose presence alone changes the posture of a room. You are becoming one of them. You'll start to sense what others need without them saying a word. You'll feel the grief behind someone's laughter, the fear behind their anger, the longing behind their silence. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is discernment. It is evidence of your anointing. And when you feel these things, don't run from them. You were designed to hold space for pain without letting it consume you. You are not called to fix every soul you meet, but your presence alone can remind them of what is still possible. And the more you offer this light without fear, the more it multiplies within you. Even in moments when you feel unseen, understand this: your light continues to move ahead of you, touching paths you haven't yet walked on. There are people dreaming of you right now, not because they know your name, but because their spirit recognizes the restoration you were sent to bring. Let that humble you, let it steady you. Chosen one, you are not becoming, you are returning. And in your return, the world around you begins to wake up as well. The air shifts, the rhythm changes, silence becomes language, alignment becomes direction. This is why the scroll within your spirit has been stirring. It wasn't waiting for permission. It was waiting for remembrance. And now that remembrance has begun, the story pauses, but it does not end. Because you are not meant to simply hear these truths. You are meant to live them, breathe them, carry them into your mornings, your relationships, and into every quiet space where miracles prefer to hide. You are not waiting for a sign from heaven. Chosen one, you are the sign. Your presence is prophecy. Your awakening is restoration. And your return is the answer to a promise spoken long before time carried your name. There are moments in every chosen one's life when memory and destiny begin to rise together, forming a quiet tide within the spirit. It begins softly, like a subtle pull beneath the surface of ordinary days. Yet it carries the weight of something ancient awakening. As the veil thins, the world around you reveals that it has always been more alive, more responsive, and more attuned to your presence than you realized. Certain people are drawn to you not by accident, but by alignment. Their arrival mirrors the exact stage of your unfolding, reminding you that your light is no longer dormant. You meet them at intersections where the invisible becomes felt. A question that reaches deeper than conversation, a moment of silence that carries recognition, or a stranger who seems familiar without explanation. These encounters are part of the sacred choreography, guiding you back to the truth of who you are. In your quiet moments, you begin to hear the voice beneath your thoughts, not imagination, but memory. It whispers with the resonance of something you once knew intimately, something the world tried to help you forget. This inner voice leads you toward places that hum with subtle energy. A corner of your room, a certain street, a childhood object you haven't touched in years. These spaces hold echoes of your earliest assignments, waiting patiently for your return. Even nature responds to you differently. The wind shifts when you pray, lights flicker when truth draws near, birds appear in moments of hesitation. These are not coincidences, nor are they meant to be chased. They serve as confirmations that what you carry reaches further than you've been taught to believe. And with that recognition comes responsibility, not the pressure to prove your worth, but the wisdom to protect what is sacred within you. You begin to feel the emotions of others without needing to analyze or interpret them. Laughter with sadness, hidden underneath anger, rooted in fear, you sense the truth behind the mask. You were born with the capacity to hold space for pain without drowning in it. This sensitivity is not a flaw. It is one of your oldest gifts. Your presence alone makes others feel exposed or comforted depending on what they carry. That is not your burden, it is your assignment. Even when you feel unnoticed or overlooked, your light moves ahead of you. People dream of you without knowing your name. They sense your purpose before you speak it. Something in you reminds them of what they once hoped to become. Let this humble you, not frighten you. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to someone eternal. Now, with your spirit stirring and your memory awakening, you stand at a crossroads not of confusion, but of clarity. Your task is no longer to search for signs, but to understand that you are one. When you were born, realms shifted. And now, as you remember, they shift again. You are the answer to questions your ancestors whispered in the dark. You are the healing they longed for but never lived to see. You are their continuation, not to carry their weight, but to walk in the freedom they imagined. The world is waiting to feel your steps. Heaven is listening for your yes. And every breath you take from this point forward becomes a reminder that your awakening is not a beginning, but a homecoming. Chosen one. As we come to the end of this message, let your spirit remain open for just a moment longer. You are standing in a holy place, a thin place, where heaven leans close and nothing about your journey is ordinary. What has been revealed to you today is not just memory, it is activation. It is alignment. It is the confirmation that your Kairos moment has arrived. Anointed one. The supernatural transfer that has hovered over your life for years is already moving toward you. You may not see its fullness yet, but the shift has begun. The air around you carries a new weight, a new clarity, a new authority. What was stolen is returning. What was hidden is rising. What was delayed is accelerating. Heaven has opened the page with your name on it. So as you step forward from this moment, walk with the quiet confidence of one who carries divine backing. Walk knowing your footsteps are guided, your path is protected, and your season has changed. May your discernment sharpen, may your peace deepen, may your spirit remain sensitive to every whisper God places before you. Chosen one. If this word awakens something ancient inside you, honor it. Acknowledge it. Let heaven hear your agreement. You may share your confirmation in the comments by writing "I remember," not for attention, but as a declaration to the realms. Remain faithful. Stay aligned. Hold your posture of surrender. Your unveiling has begun, and what is coming next will not resemble anything you have lost. Until we meet again, walk in power, walk in light, and walk in the truth of who you have always been. God bless you.